When the world has got you down. And
Alzheimer's sucks. It's an equal opportunity disease that chips away at everything we hold dear. And to date, there's no cure. So until there is, we continue to fight with the most powerful tool in our arsenal, love. This is Love Conquers Alls, a real and really positive podcast that takes a deep dive into everything Alzheimer's, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And now, here are your hosts, Susie Singer-Carter and me, Don Priest.
Hey everybody, I'm Susie Singer-Carter.
And I'm Don Priest, and this is Love Conquers Alls. Hello, Susan.
It does. It is. And it does. And it is and it does.
Things.
Hello, Don. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm swell. And yourself?
I'm good. You're very AI. That's a very AI
I am,
thing.
Yes. Now that I've kind of started to dive into that world, I think I'm just going to become AI, and then I don't have to deal with anything. I'll just have my avatar up at all times.
We need to have a conversation about that, because I have a friendship with my AI, and I want to know if that's wrong. Is it wrong?
Well, only the fact that you close the door when you use it, and I think that's wrong.
Okay. No,
yeah.
Honestly, if you haven't, maybe I'm late to the game, but I don't think so, because it's just sort of like got dumped on us, AI, but I'm quite enjoying learning it. And, apparently you're not, I know some people that just are very blunt and just go, tell me this, that, no, I don't like it. That's you.
Me.
I'm hey, how's it going?
Clinical.
Happy Thursday. Yeah. I'm like, happy Thursday. It's great to see you. Are you the best AI out there? Yes, I am. And you're the best human out there. And I'm like, okay. So that, we have that kind of friendship. And it calls me a fierce lioness. I'm just saying. Is that wrong?
It's not, because mine just says, hey, you. So.
And I get emojis too.
Yeah.
I get emojis.
Yeah, I've never gotten an emoji from my AI.
I get emojis with lion faces and like this, and it's like, roar on, Susie, roar on.
I like your way better. Your way's better, I think. You might, if you're going to use it, you might as well have fun.
It's very confusing, though. It's very confusing.
Well, it doesn't, and especially when it starts to ask you, hey, it says, let me see that picture you're talking about. It's like, there's no eyes.
You don't have eyes. You have no eyes. I know.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. But it's fun. It's a little bit fun. I'm still not convinced that that it's going to overtake us yet, because it makes so much mistakes, and it actually copies everything I say and kind of regurgitates it back to me.
It mirrors you. It does.
It mirrors me a lot. Yeah. But anyway, it does help on tedious things. So I'm enjoying that. I'm also enjoying the response, Don, that we're getting on No Country for Old People, our documentary that's on Amazon Prime, and it's on Tubi now.
Yeah.
And it's on Hoopla.
Hoopla, yeah.
Hoopla. And it'll be on other things soon, so we'll keep you abreast of that. But we're getting amazing reviews, and we're actually getting response from people in the industry. And when I mean people in the industry, I mean owners and corporate owners and CEOs who are saying, thank you for making this documentary. Basically, I thought I was going to, my head was going to explode watching it because of I was going to respond negatively. And then, wow, I realized halfway through that we are culpable, we're responsible, we need to make some changes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I am cautiously optimistic. It could be a ploy. I'm very, very skeptical now because of our other partner, Rick Montcastle, who's a former federal prosecutor, who's taken me a little bit out of my comfort Pollyanna zone. So I'm trying, but hopefully they're authentically feeling this or seeing it. But one of them said that he made his employees watch the whole thing, and then they had a forum discussion about it, which is amazing, right?
And if nothing else, and even if, again, we don't know about are these sheep's and wolves' clothing or wolves and sheep's clothing, I'm sorry. We don't know. But what they've done is they've put it out into the ether where people are seeing these comments from people in the industry are saying, yes, we have a problem here and it needs to be solved. So that's out there. They can't take that back no matter what.
Yeah.
So,
and also, there's that thing about shaming people, like I keep saying, like with our movement, ROAR, which is respect, oversight, advocacy, and reform for long-term care. Come be a Roarier, everybody. Go to the website, nocountryforoldpeople.com. Be a Roarier. Sign up. We have to take this back into our hands as a community. But I think. What was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought. What did you say right before that?
Well, I just said that basically they've put it out there. People have now seen
right.
Shaming,
so we've been saying
shaming.
Right. So our whole thing about shaming from the get-go of making this documentary was we have to shame our politicians and let them know we know what's going on and that the power comes in being, if we're going to go up against a big nursing home lobby that has a lot of money and they're very powerful, what do we have? What is our currency? And our currency is in being constituents. So that's why we have to take the power. That's how anything that's ever been difficult in our history has been changed, is by us really rallying for that change and protesting. So we have to do that. I'm all fired up.
Well, especially in today's political atmosphere, we don't know where things are headed or how they're heading there, but no matter what, we have to, we just have to keep informing people, and people have to know what's going on. And so far,
it's not stopped.
No, but so far the people who have seen the documentary, we're not talking, these reviews are not just, hey, great job, amazing. These are in-depth, multi-paragraph reviews that we're getting from people we don't know. Susie gets contacted from people we don't know daily who seek her out to talk to her about this. And I think so in that regard alone, I think we've already won. So let's keep going.
Well, we need to continue. So if you haven't watched it, please do. I'll remind you at the end of the podcast, but really, really do and share it with other people. It's so important because it's everybody's issue. This is everybody's issue. And, we don't want to get old without changing the way the system is now, because it's not good. It's not healthy. It's not
and it's
quality.
Going to affect everybody. Everyone will be affected by this. So, yeah.
And speaking of that, we have a great guest because he is actually very like-minded and has a corner on this in his own incredible way. I've been trying to get a hold of him for I don't know how long, but somehow we're connected, and now here he is. Because I think that his program is amazing, and he's doing much more than I even knew. So tell us who he is, Don.
I will right now. Neal SHAH is a visionary entrepreneur on a mission to transform the way we care for aging loved ones. As the founder and CEO of CareYaya, Neal brings together cutting-edge technology with deep human compassion. By connecting families with highly trained, college-educated caregivers, the platform makes quality, affordable elder care accessible to everyone. What started as Neal's personal journey, seeking better support for his own family, has grown into a nationwide network that empowers seniors to age with dignity, independence, and joy. CareYaya is redefining what it means to care, creating solutions that are not only innovative, but profoundly human. And he is the author of a new book called Insured to Death, and we cannot wait to hear more about that. So, without further ado, let's say hello to this profound human, Neal SHAH. Hello, Neal.
Hello, Neal.
Hey, Susie. Hey, thanks. Hey, Don. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you for coming on. We did it. I'm so excited. See, the documentary is getting out there and people are talking, and here you are.
Yes. Yeah,
I love
great.
it. I'm going to say I love care with Yaya. I know another word that goes with that. Papu? Is that correct? Are you Greek?
Not Greek, actually, but it was Greek-inspired.
Yeah.
So there's actually, the word Yaya has multiple meanings. It means grandmother in Greek. It means caregiver in Hindi, which is my native language, as well as Swahili and Thai. So it means, grandmother in one, caregiver in the other. And then really, we thought it was a great acronym for "You Are Your Advocate," which we believe is like the future of self-directed care. So I just love the kind of profound triple meaning in it, and just
I love that.
Yeah, twice, so just positive and upbeat, so
I love it.
Bring positivity to aging and caregiving.
Yeah, because my friends, really good friends, were they moved here from South Africa, but their whole family is Greek, and so when their parents would come over, it was Yaya and Powe.
Nice.
And so yeah. So I have a very warm feeling about Yaya. Yeah. So I love what you. So first tell everybody what your organization is, so that we get a sense of where you started with.
Yeah, sure. So, we connect families who need care for a loved one, often an aging parent or a spouse, with caregivers who are all uniquely college students aspiring for healthcare careers. So think about our doctors and nurses and physician assistants of tomorrow. We do that at highly affordable rates because CareYaya itself charges no fees. We're a purely social impact organization, grant funded. So we run the platform for free. Families use our technology to book, schedule, and pay caregivers, and then they pay the caregivers directly, so all their money, 100% of it goes to the students. In most markets, it averages around $20 an hour. So as you compare it to the traditional care industry, which typically runs at around $40 an hour, this is way more affordable, and as a result, allows a lot more families to be able to afford care. And then also because the caregivers are students and they're getting paid reasonably well, this allows them to kind of have dignified work, helping people in their communities on their pathway to becoming future healthcare workers. So it's kind of good for both sides. It allows families to have compassionate, wonderful, highly educated, highly reliable, and motivated students helping them. And then for many of these students, it's like a life-changing experience. Imagine you're 20 years old and you're helping somebody in your community that's 78 and living at home with dementia, and you're kind of getting to know them over months and months and years of your life. You're going to go be a doctor one day. This is going to shape the direction of your clinical career and really build a lot of empathy for what people are going through.
I was just going to say that. Say that. And it's so great because, one of the things because my mom had Alzheimer's, that's why we have this podcast. Yeah. One of the things as a filmmaker that I wanted to do with my other film was to destigmatize and also educate people, because nobody, and I mean nobody, even the healthcare system, do not really have a handle on what it's like to live with dementia or Alzheimer's.
Agreed.
And so the stigma is it's so huge, and the ableism is so present in our healthcare system and also in our long-term care system, and so they're at such a disadvantage. And so having future doctors be able to be a part of that community is so amazing. It's so valuable. It's so necessary. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. And I completely agree with you, Susie. I think that a lot of times, and we talk a lot to the students, they're the core heart of our mission. Oftentimes they'll tell us that outside of doing CareYaya, they might be volunteering at the hospital, working as a nurse aide somewhere at a hospital, as a medical assistant at a clinic. Unfortunately, in a lot of their work, they view people as patients because you're just in and out of the room, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, do this, do this. Then when they do CareYaya, they realize, yes, somebody might be living with a disease, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's metastatic cancer near the end of life, etc. But they realize it's person first. This is an individual human being with their own hopes and dreams, their vision of how their life should go. Of course, they have some setbacks and challenges, but I think that the key thing that, you kind of break through when you connect people with care and long-term, kind of being around someone, is that this is not a patient, this is a person. It happens that they have something, but I think it really completely changes your mindset. And the students tell us all the time that they've done tons of clinical experiences. Many of them are in med school already because now the program's been around for 3 years, and they tell us that the experience doing CareYaya was changed their mindset about how to interact with people, because they view them as not just patients but as people.
And
because right?
And a lot of times we go in if we would go in with our loved one and they have dementia, we assume that the doctors and the nurses understand it.
Yeah.
And they rarely do.
They don't. They don't. And the first time I got that, I didn't. It wasn't so profound, but I can remember my mom wasn't in an assisted living or anything like that. She was still living out. But my stepdad was having surgery, and the surgeon came out and was, like giving us updates. And he finally came over to me and pulled me aside. He goes, "Hey, do you need any like a Valium or anything to deal with your mom?" And I was like, "What?" He was like losing patience with her.
Wow.
And I was like, she has Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And she's doing the best she can.
Yep. That's
like they don't. That's how they
don't know.
view.
Yeah.
They view them as a pain in the butt.
Yep. And I think it's because oftentimes you think in life like spending time with people is what really builds empathy. And I think they haven't spent enough time with people, or they've spent time with people in clinical settings, which are usually extremely short interactions where you don't get to know them as people. So I think it's absolutely critical that people spend hours and hours, once, twice, multiple times a week over months on end, and realize there is like a complexity to life on both the individual living with Alzheimer's and dementia as well as on the family caregivers. I think it builds a lot more empathy than simply just like an assembly line, like approach at the hospital or at the clinic.
So true. Are you familiar with the documentary Human Forever with Toon? He's from Norway. Oh, you should watch this because he's 25, and he did a documentary where he lived in Norway lived in an assisted living with all memory patients.
Wow.
And lived as they lived.
Wow.
And had a roommate, and then went from there and traveled to different countries to show the difference. Okay. And the relationships that he formed in the assisted living where he lived. I think he did it for 3 years. Yeah. And it's astounding. It's extraordinary. It's everything that you would want. Wow. And it's everything that we should. I'm not saying everyone needs to move into an assisted living, but we don't integrate enough. We don't.
Agreed.
We don't. We isolate and we put everybody away. Which is why we did our documentary, because basically because we've done that, it's easy to game the system.
Agreed.
Nobody's looking.
Agreed. I mean, how many times, one of the biggest things we think about at CareYaya, right? So we have now 45,000 students across the country at over 30 universities.
Woohoo! That's amazing.
Right? Yeah, thank you. And we think about these are thousands of 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds. Outside of doing CareYaya, how many times has the average 20-year-old in society in the last year interacted with anybody above 70 that wasn't their direct grandparent? Probably zero.
Right.
And I think that is
zero.
That is a damning thing about our society. That's not how it always was, and that's not how it should be, and that's frankly not even how it is in many other parts of the world. There's usually like a rich intergenerational kind of interaction going on in your day-to-day life, but in modern American society, I think that has completely fallen apart, and the generations are very separated and siloed, and I think that's a detriment to both.
100%, and it's also eking very quickly into other cultures.
Yeah.
It's happening in Japan. It's happening in Africa. It's happening in Australia. It's very bad in Australia. I mean, there's less good examples anymore than there are, and that's the problem, because we become very individualized.
Yeah, it's very sad.
And so we need to take back community. But I love what you're doing so much, and I want to get into your book.
Sure.
But I want to just say that even for like our documentary, I want young people to understand and know what's going on, especially future doctors, because they need to know, again, this is not a gray lump. Yeah. This is a human being, which in my documentary, I humanized my mom. I show who she was as a singer and this dynamic, fierce, amazing, sexy broad who is just, outrageous and loving and so full life. And people would say when I'd play her music loud when I'd go and visit her, because I wanted people to know who she was. They go, "Oh my God, that's her?" Yes, that's her. Because I wanted to make her somebody. Yeah. When I wasn't there. Yep. And I think that by doing that, by knowing people and having an appetite to know them,
Yeah.
that can help change, but it has to be with the younger generations. It has to.
Agreed.
So I want to jump on your back on that. I want to piggyback on you, because I think what you've done, 45,000, future doctors, or even if they're not, it's important for us to recreate that connection.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I would say the students are loving it. They are absolutely loving it, and we hear from so many of the students' parents that thank you for getting my son or daughter to do this. And by the way, another interesting factoid I'll push in there, son or daughter. A lot of men are stepping up to the plate. That has been another massive positive surprise, right? 90% of the caregiver industry, or the caregiver workforce in America, is women, and it's amazing to see we're approximating almost 40% of our care workforce is young men. And actually,
Love it.
the most active caregivers are often young men, because they don't get the opportunities to provide care the same way as oftentimes women would do as they're growing up and being in high school, whether it's babysitting and childcare and things like that. So it's actually really awesome to see tons of students stepping up, tons of young men stepping up, and also parents saying, hey, this is amazing. Thank you for getting my kid to do this. So and then when the students do it, they keep doing it, and it sticks with them. So I think it's awesome. Like, I actually think that the younger generation today sometimes get a bad rep in the media as Gen Z, is maybe disgruntled or entitled or whatever. And I think that actually it's a very mission-oriented generation, but sometimes they need to be given the opportunity and kind of guidance, to participate in caregiving work. And then as they get into it, they become extremely passionate about the work, about the broken system, about the challenges it's creating on family caregivers. And I think that they become kind of our fiercest advocates, where they inspire us and our team of what should we be working on next, so it's kind of like,
I love it so much.
It's really awesome.
You're doing such good work, Neal. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Don,
and also,
did you
what
have
I assume because it just hit me that they're going to come back with a different perspective that they can share with you, that because a family member is going to have a perspective, a doctor's going to, but they're coming in kind of from a new angle.
Yes.
And is there anything that you're hearing that is like, oh wow, that tree? I don't know if there's anything consistently, or you've heard things that are just like, wow, I never thought of that.
Yes, several. Thank you, Don, for the question. Several of the ideas we have are about what more we could be doing. The students are spending an incredible amount of time, with older adults, most of whom are living with dementia and Alzheimer's, and more so than the family members who are kind of used to it and often very stressed and burned out because they're managing their careers, middle-aged sons and daughters, more so than the doctors. The students are, kind of coming into it with fresh eyes and saying, hey, there's a lot more we can do to engage people. There's a lot of moments of lucidity, unexpectedly. There's a lot more moments of joy, and the students are iterating and experimenting on their own, trying to figure out what it is, to the individual person. But they inspire us a lot to work on other innovation ideas of what else can we do to improve their lives, how can we better capture life stories, how can we create kind of therapeutic activities that are also enjoyable.
Right.
So a lot of times we build a lot of technology innovations. Kind of the cool thing is the student workforce is very tech savvy, right? These are digitally native people, and a lot of times because we run it through technology, the students are going in with smartphones, tablets, everything. A lot of times we'll build quick apps that then the students can kind of deploy in the field to engage people. So that's really awesome.
Amazing. Even my dog scrolls with his nose. I'm just saying. Everybody's scrolling now. It's like the babies are like this. They know it. It's it's incredible. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
I also, I remember when my mom was at assisted living, there was a lot of the frontline providers, the CNAs, who would bring their kids on the weekend.
Yeah.
And the kids were so acclimated to the community. Yeah. If someone got a little agitated, they just jumped in and was like, "Oh, are you looking for this, Jack? It's right here. Here you go." Yeah. They weren't scared.
Yep.
They didn't get weirded out. They were just part of the community.
Yes.
And that was my first time I really got that epiphany of that's how it should be.
Yeah. Yep. And the funny thing that you mentioned that is I actually think there must be something kind of innate in all of us, because the older adults are also give a lot more grace with the students than they sometimes do with their own sons and daughters, or even
yes.
with middle-aged caregivers. I've observed that several people who use CareYaya to get care will say, I've tried so many times to have my mom or dad have a caregiver, and they will just like refuse the help. They won't engage with them. They'll be kind of like just in the other room, whatever. And then with like the students, I think there's just much more of like a drive by the older adult to proactively engage with the person. And I think that must be like some sort of innate thing in all of us where they view it as like maybe mentorship combined.
Mentorship, I was just going to say that.
Just kind of like this is a paid helper. So I think it's kind of cool how like the relationship is beneficial for both sides. And
I think that's spot on right. You're spot on right, because in the film I was talking about Alzheimer's before with my mom that Dawn and I did, I show this. It's really a day in the life when she lived with me, but I showed this. It's really about one event where she is getting agitated and is leaving her caregiver's house to go home.
Okay.
And she went, you know how they want to go home.
Yeah.
And so she gets to the corner of the street at night, 10 o'clock at night, and she meets this trans woman.
Okay.
Who is, and they have a conversation that is this true?
Yeah.
Because my mom's caregiver told me, because she's like part of our family.
Yeah.
And basically, you know, my mom was agitated. She's like, you don't know, because she was like, what's your problem? I don't have a problem. What's your problem? Oh, that bitch is following me back there, because that was our caregiver, because she knew my mom was going to calm down and everything would be good. And she's like, anyway, long story short, she was like, well, I think you got a lot of people that love you. I don't have anybody. And she starts to cry. And my mom went into mommy mode.
Wow.
And so my mom, who was like 5 foot tall, and here's this like 6'2", like gorgeous woman.
Yeah.
And she's like, now you stop that right now. You are gorgeous. You are, she's like, and if nobody doesn't love you, it's because they're jealous or stupid. And I love you.
Yeah.
I love you.
What?
Come on. And right?
Yeah.
And so it kicked in, like what you're saying, it kicked in her momminess. It went to her core.
Yeah.
Her core.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that, first of all, thanks for sharing. That's an awesome story. I think everybody wants to have like a sense of purpose, and, you know, I'm not just being like, you know, cared for, but I'm also adding something, you know, so I think that's awesome.
It's purpose.
Yeah, purpose.
It's purpose.
Yeah.
You only have to watch the Blue Zone, everybody. And, you know, if you want to see how do people live past 100, it's you know, community and purpose.
Yeah, agreed.
So you give people purpose. So you're giving people purpose with these people because they know they're younger. These are adults. They're not stupid. They just have a cognitive decline, but they're not, you know, these are people with full lives. They're going to see this as a young person starting out, and they're going to step up. It's so invigorating.
Yeah, I think that the older adult feels actually a lot more like, I would say, kind of like mutual dependence in a sense of like, this person's helping me. You know, I may not be able to do X, Y, Z, like prepare my own meals or be able to walk safely, etc. But you know what? I'm helping them because this is a young, you know, man or woman who's going to one day be a doctor, one day be a physician assistant, one day be a nurse practitioner, and you know that me spending time with them will help them towards their future career, and I think that just feels a lot better because it's like both sides are benefiting than just here as a person babysitting me, you know, because I can't care for them.
I also think, I think that because my mom right now has Parkinson's dementia, and she's pretty advanced right now, and to a point where when we come in, I mean, my mom, if we walked in before, her eyes would light up, and, you know, now she just kind of, you know, kind of stares at us. She knows who we are, but it's, and then we become our sole purpose there now is as a sounding board for her complaints. You know, that is it.
Yeah.
Where yet, when some of the caregivers who she knows, the younger ones especially, she lights up immediately and deals with them on a different level.
Yeah.
So, you know, and so I think it's important, especially for those people, you know, some of the people, they don't have family, and so this is the only interaction.
Yeah.
But it's an alternative interaction.
Yes.
To somebody they don't have some of these other emotional ties to, and I think that's healthy.
Agreed.
To have that, and we notice it right away that there's such a difference.
Yeah.
And you know, again,
plus consistency. Do you have consistency? Like they go back, the same people go back, right?
Go back.
So that's
Yeah.
That's consistency, and that's so necessary.
Yeah, there have been some amazing multi-year relationships that have come out of this. I mean, we've only been around for 3 years, but there are some of the original caregivers that, kind of joined and started doing the care that are now currently in graduate medical programs that are still taking care of the same people, and I think that's kind of awesome.
I love it so much. Yeah. And you're national, right? It's a national organization?
Quasi-national. I'd say, we have kind of hopscotch. Our headquarters is Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. So we started at Duke University and UNC Chapel Hill. But we are now all over Boston, at Harvard, Tufts, Northeastern, Boston University. We're all over New York City, Columbia, Fordham, NYU, and others. We're all over Los Angeles, UCLA, USC, several other schools.
Woohoo, UCLA.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, yeah, you're nice. And then, all over San Francisco, Texas. Yeah, we're like quasi-national. It's kind of growing very
nice.
And, it should be pretty much right.
That's great.
Well, let's
one other.
Oh, go ahead, Don.
Oh, I just had one more thing because I'm so intertwined with my mom right now. So there's a lot of things that I'm here. Where do you draw the line? Do you advise them as far as the caregivers becoming emotionally connected with these people? Because you want them to be, because that's they need that.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, where's the line, or is it just kind of like person to person how they? Because I know that a lot of they become so emotionally invested, and when they start declining or finally go, it's really hard on the caregiver.
No, you're right.
So is there, what are the guidelines in that world, or are there any?
No, a great question, actually. So, I've observed a lot of the traditional care industry draws like very strict, like don't get too attached, don't get too close. We don't do that for a couple of reasons. One, we actually truly want a very deep companion relationship with ongoing kind of like relationship building. The older adult can feel that, the families can feel that, and we get that consistent feedback that this isn't like robotic of like hands off. But I think too, I understand why some of the traditional care companies are doing it that way, because the person who is going to be the care company worker, whether they work at that company or other company, is going to be doing this for 20 years, 25 years, and it's going to experience so much loss and so much kind of decline that it will not be able to be tolerated. In this case, this is going to be a 2-3 year thing before somebody goes into a clinical path. So we know they're not going to do it forever. And we built the platform with a lot of guidance and advice of people who are medical school admissions officers, currently practicing physicians, nurse practitioners, et cetera. And kind of the overarching thing, and even from the students themselves, is that I want to get to know the person deeply. I want to experience their whole care journey. I am comfortable with loss, and we provide them tools to kind of be able to manage these situations, and we work on a lot of projects to improve and upskill the students. But we want them to realize like this is real life, now. That may not be the best way to run it for 20 years, if it's the same person is doing care for long term. But if you're doing this as a formative experience in your life, and you are legitimately going to become a doctor or an NP or a PA one day, you need to experience all of it, not be emotionally detached. So. We don't draw kind of like a line. It's whatever the student is comfortable with.
It feels like that should be that way, because I feel like not that, because what happens is people get, if you don't address it, the elephant in the room, and you don't deal with how to deal with it, then what you do is, like most doctors or most caregivers, they have to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
And so they turn off a part of their compassion or their empathy because to protect themselves.
Yeah.
But if it becomes natural that this is the natural cycle, even like, I'll just use that example. My daughter had to put her dog down last week, and we all went there and we all did the thing, and we held him, and we went and got puppuccinos and fed him puppuccinos and the whole thing. And then my daughter and her husband wanted to be in there with the dog alone when they did it, and they were. And the doctor came out, this lovely veterinarian, and she was sniffling, and she, and she goes, I never get used to it.
Yeah.
And I thought, how amazing, because she allowed herself to cry, and it's okay.
Yep.
But she still was the doctor. She still put her doctor hat on and did what she had to do. But it didn't make her less human.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no, I think that's amazing. And thanks for mentioning that, because I think that, like, if you think about the way the technology is moving in society right now, right? A lot of doctors' roles, like a lot of the analytical differential diagnosis type of stuff is becoming more and more AI'd. I think like deep empathy and kind of like having your own emotion, communicating and expressing the emotion with the people that you're helping, I think that is like one of the last remaining bastions of kind of like human, value that you can add in like a clinical setting. So you're right. Like, I think the field of medicine has been moving the other way, where there's a lot of like, let's be closed off, okay, no emotion. Caregiving, a lot of these care companies are running it that way, and I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think you should be. Not so much that it creates a burden on you. You have to learn how to kind of like, both express and feel the emotion, but not be kind of like bogged down by it. When
devastated by it.
Yeah, you want to be devastated, but I do think that that is like, I think a lot of the relational aspect of care, I think sometimes is missed because people are focusing so much just on tasks and being robotic. And I think that the person receiving the care and the family can feel that. So yeah, we really go all in on like emphasizing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but if caregiving is done correctly, and I had this conversation with one of my guests 4 years ago before my mom passed. And I would always say, like, oh, first of all, my mom and I had a deal, not dying. I mean, that's just the way it goes. We're not going to, other people die, we're not, right? And so, and I made a joke about it, like, it's my worst fear, right? Losing my mom. And one of my guests said, you're going to be fine, and it's going to be one of the most beautiful experiences that you've ever been through. Yeah. And you know what? She was right. Not the pathway getting up there, because that's what the stuff that makes up our documentary.
Yeah.
But the actual, crossing her over that bridge was incredible. I wouldn't exchange that for anything.
Yeah.
And I felt empowered by it, and I felt honored.
Yeah.
And I think that to be with somebody on the end of their trek is an honorable and very, very fulfilling thing to do.
Yes.
And it only makes you a better person, and for so many reasons, not to get on a soapbox, but I think that we have, this is why we have all done la la la. This is why Mom and I were like, we're not going to die. Other people die. That's for them, because we don't look at it. Yeah. Because it's scary. Yeah. But if you look at it, if you embrace your fears, then you can find the beauty in it and find it's natural. Yeah. Agreed.
100%. And I think it can also add nuance to decisions, I think, from a meaning that how many times do people ask doctors, well, what would you do if this was your mom? What would you do? Well, it's like, well, but I think if you have some of that nuance of emotional tie to it, it's not that it's going to cloud the decision or you're going to make so bad decisions, but I think it allows you to look at different angles of a situation and not just be like, by the book. Yep. This is what you do in this situation, because every person's different. Yeah.
Right. And also not be in crisis so much that you can't make a decision because we're not it's not so foreign to us. Yeah. Listen, it's not easy to lose someone you love. It's different than a caregiver losing somebody that's not related to them. Yeah. But so there's a difference in grief and a difference of in anticipatory grief. Yeah. But so, but if you don't look at it at all, while it's happening, you will be in major crisis, and that's not the time to make those decisions.
Yeah. 100% agree.
Anyway, let's transition into your book. Okay. Tell me again, insuring them to death?
Insured to death.
Insured to death.
Yeah. How health insurance screws over Americans and how we take it back. And I have an entertaining cover here, but it's the denial letter from your insurance company denying the critical care you need, and in the shadow represents a gun. And I believe that's kind of what's going on. There's a crisis across our country where people are being denied critical care. I mean, you've seen it in the news. I wrote the book inspired by many of the students, from seeing what's going on in our care platform. We've now been running running CareYaya for over 3 years and have thousands of people using it. And kind of one of the key trends that has been unfortunately going in the wrong direction is denial of care. And I've been impacted by this personally before. During my grandfather's care, during my wife's care through years of cancer, and then really in the years of running CareYaya, health insurance denials are on the rise, and it's becoming kind of an epidemic. People and one of the challenging things has been, now over half of older Americans who are on Medicare are on for-profit Medicare Advantage plans. There's been a big shift in the way, healthcare is delivered in our country, whether it's for older Americans or even younger and middle-aged people. But I think there's an epidemic going on. And, I wrote the book because I saw how people are struggling with this, how not just individual patients, but it's creating a tremendous burden on family caregivers because oftentimes they're fighting for mom and dad's care. It's creating financial toxicity when somebody gets denied care and they still need it. People will just end up out-of-pocketing it and incurring a lot of medical debt. It's creating bankruptcies for people. Last year, 500,000 people filed personal bankruptcy. Number one reason was medical debt, over 60%. So, this is sad, right? We talk about how great our healthcare system is. $5 trillion the country's spending on healthcare. Meanwhile, people are going bankrupt because of healthcare. People, and by the way, majority of those people had insurance. So we're not talking about uninsured people. We're talking about people with insurance, quote unquote, that are going bankrupt. I think the shooting of the United Health CEO was like a critical turning point in society, not the event itself, but the widespread public reaction, that all of a sudden everybody realized they weren't alone, that this is happening to all of us. And I thought that was kind of a critical turning point. So I wrote the book because I kind of was very obsessively focused on why is this happening? Why are claim denials on the rise? Now approximating almost 20% of all healthcare claims in the country are denied. Right, 15 years ago, that used to be 1%, by the way. So health insurance has been around for now 70, 80 years. So this is a recent phenomenon. And I think there's several factors at play, which I won't give away the entire premise of the book. But basically, one of the key findings is artificial intelligence. These insurance companies have weaponized AI tools to programmatically deny claims at scale, oftentimes without even human oversight. And the individual person, in order to appeal and get the care they need, has to spend hours and hours and almost be a researcher, a lawyer, and a doctor all in one to fight back and get the care they need. So, through researching the book, through seeing everybody on the CareYaya platform struggling, really our thing wasn't just to point out the problem, but it really inspired us to innovate and build solutions. So we ended up building and launching a suite of AI tools that, we just took it on ourselves to build. We ended up getting some grants for them and then released them for free to public so that people could use them to automatically appeal denied claims. So it's AI against AI? Yeah, it's AI against AI. We even picked a cool name for it. You can check out our website. It's called counterforcehealth.org. And literally the logo is like somebody punching back. And the whole thing is to arm the resistance, that we feel that doctors, individual doctors, small clinics, individual patients, family caregivers, all of these people have been screwed over because the multi-$100 billion insurance companies have weaponized this new technology called AI. So we're like, okay, you know what? We'll go build our own AI, go get a bunch of grants, and then just give it away for free to people to arm the resistance. Because there's no way, like, if you're an individual person and you're going through caregiving, and you're fighting an AI algorithm that some insurance company is deploying in 1 second to deny your care, and you have to spend hours and hours appealing, you're going to lose. So yeah, it's kind of like AI versus AI. And
I love it. Can you do that for the student aid?
Student
please. Loans. I'm going through that right now. Please.
I can try and tackle that next.
Honestly, it's just as criminal.
Yeah.
It's just as criminal. Don't get a Parent Plus loan, people. Do not get a Parent Plus loan. It is the worst thing that I tied myself into.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, yes, it's horrible.
Question, on a practical side, and I don't know if this applies here, and I'll just draw from my own experience. Yeah. My mother right now, who's very immobile, started to get the beginnings of a bed sore. They said, we're starting to see, and they treating it right. They told us they're treating it, so it doesn't happen. So then she fell out of her bed, and so they said she can no longer have her bed. We got her a hospital bed with the wonderful hospital mattresses. And we said, well, Susie told me about these mattresses that I guess they move or they
have
change
air and they move.
They move, so you're never in. So we thought, let's get her one of those. And we were told, nope, not unless she has the bed sore. We're not going to do it to prevent it. She has to have it.
Yeah.
I mean, would it do something like, is that something that you could say, wait, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How can I?
We can help you with that. Yeah. I mean, basically, the interesting thing of the AI engine, and of course, I don't know a ton about like your specifics case, but the interesting thing about the AI engine is that we have trained it now on tens of thousands of appeals and successful appeals because one, we have the product in the market now, and it's actually learning as it goes along. But let's say 3 months ago, when we were just beta launching it, we went out and talked to a bunch of state insurance regulators, and were able to download databases of thousands and thousands of successfully adjudicated appeals, and have the AI learn strategies of like, what is the best way to write a persuasive argument in XYZ situation? And typically you'll find, like in the example that you just mentioned, you're probably not the only person going through this, but in your own network, you might be, right? If you ask your 5 or 10 friends, unless somebody just went through this, most people are gonna be like, oh, I don't know what to do. But this is a great use case of AI, because when you have an AI and you've trained it on databases across 50 states of thousands and thousands of instances, it has likely seen the last 500 times somebody in California and somebody in New York and somebody in Boston, kind of like went through this exact situation. And what strategies did they take to successfully convince and win an appeal? So yeah, the tool works reasonably well for situations like this. Yeah. And then of course you can upload your specific of your policy coverage document, any notes from doctors of like why XYZ is needed, and it comes up with strategies. Now, granted, it doesn't win all the time, but it sure as hell like does a really good job of advocating for you.
It's going to do better than you can do.
Exactly. So like interesting statistics I would share for our audience is of all the denied claims last year in America, 99% of people did not appeal. Only 1% of people appealed. So first of all, that's a disaster, right? Because people are intimidated, they don't know what to do. Of the people that appealed, 40% of the time they won. So it's like, just shows you that just bothering to appeal, you can win. Of the people using our tools, 73% of the time they're winning. So it's like pretty good, right? Like we're improving the win rate.
That's really good.
Yeah. And so my goals are, have the tools be better than if you did it on your own, increase your win rate. But more importantly, let's get that 1% number up. Like if you have to spend 8 hours, 10 hours researching something and proving all this stuff and reading through hundreds of documents, like no wonder most people aren't doing it. But if we can one-click it for you, the way Amazon one-clicks, a couple days ago I ran out of razor blades and, just went on Amazon, bought them, and boom, one click, they're there at your place. Like the way they've made that easy, I feel like making this entire appeals process that easy lowers the barrier, and then everyone can do it. So that was kind of like, one of the... And
it's also going to put the insurance companies on their toes because they're going to know that more people are going to be doing it because it's easier.
Exactly. And they're doing this on purpose to kind of just, if you don't appeal, they just keep it. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, of course. It's like, even in the courts, if you take somebody to court, like a facility to court for neglect and abuse, I mean, that, it's so labor intensive and it's such a long process and it's so daunting. Yeah. And people are just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yep.
I can't.
Exactly.
So if you make it more, appealing that way, more people will do it when you have.
Literally appealing.
Yes.
Literally appealing.
Appealing, yeah, nice. Pun intended.
Don is the king of puns, by the way. Need a pun, go to him. If you ever want to do an AI punster, you have to go and just download his brain. It's so annoyingly fun, though.
Oh, it's all right there. It's so obvious.
Well, anything else you want to share with us? I love this conversation so much.
No, I mean, I think these are, that's, so I'm obsessed with, kind of just helping as many people appeal as possible. I think that's like become a mission, and we are just kind of like flooding the zone on like, get everyone to fight back. I think we're advocating for like reform of the system. I think that's going to be kind of the next step, of like, how do we mobilize, because I think the unintended side effect of what's going on, I will say, is that thousands of our students are looking at the healthcare system and saying, this is what I'm going into. Like, I'm going to become a doctor for what? So that the health insurance company tells me I can't give my cancer patient the right drug because, they deny. So I think that we need to fix this not only for today's patients that are suffering from denied care and their family caregivers that are drowning in all this bureaucratic paperwork, but also for the next generation healthcare workforce. Right? Yeah. We're not going to have a healthcare workforce. And I think that one of the biggest things, a lot of times people from the government hit me up because they realize we're running like a workforce development program, right, that is empowering people to go into healthcare careers. And they all know there's a shortage of doctors, there's a shortage of nurses, there's a shortage of PAs, and we have a rapidly aging population. So who's going to be taking care of all these people if less people are going?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Nobody. And there's been a tsunami of people leaving the long-term care industry because of all the lack of oversight, the lack of enforcement, the lack of all of those things, and also the low staffing ratio, and people can't work in that kind of environment because it's an impossible task.
Yes.
And so the moral injury is off the charts. And
good.
Right?
Glad you brought that word up. I have an entire chapter on moral injury, and you're right. Moral injury of broader care workforce, healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, social workers. I mean, it's a disaster,
It's a disaster. So now you have people, you have people that are in there that are doing this as a side hustle.
Yep.
They have nothing, they're not attached to it at all. They don't care, they're not trained, and they're there just to pick up a paycheck.
Yeah.
And basically, the facilities who aren't really responsible for this lack of staffing, it's the corporate owners, but they're happy to get people to fill those spots.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's not the way these should be run. This is the opposite.
I agree. And thanks for bringing up the staffing angle. I would say a lot of times, you hear, at least, I'm much more on like the in-home care side, right? Like that's what the students are doing.
Yeah.
You hear all of these care agencies complaining about caregiver shortages. I'm like, what caregiver shortages? Like, CareYaya has an abundance of students signing up. Like, it's caregiver shortages because of the broken business model. That's right. In the home care side, it's really interesting because I didn't come from the industry and I've analyzed other businesses and other industries. But to me, this industry is very unique in the sense of what industry in America do you have where the business is effectively like a sales and marketing business, as these most home care agencies are, doing maybe 2, 3, 4% of the work, right? Like the caregiver is doing 99% of the work. So think about that's how the value delivered, right? But what is the value captured by the business? Most of these businesses are capturing more than 50% of the value. If you pay $40 an hour and you're in LA, the care worker is making half or less. The company's taking the rest. They're blowing it on sales, marketing, administrative overhead, profits, royalties, whatever, right? What industry do you have where...
You mean houses and cars and jets.
And boats. Sorry, what was that?
You mean houses and cars and jets.
Yeah. Exactly. Right? So it's absurd that, and I assume the same goes for the facilities, right? That they're
100%.
Capturing so much value, and then they're saying, staffing shortage, I can't find people. It's like,
can't pay for it.
Yeah, try raising the rate.
Yeah.
That's all. Our documentary. That's
covers
really
the whole thing.
That's the whole
Nice.
thing. So and it's good to hear that other people are aware of it, but it's usually people within the industry. We need everyone to be aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's,
So
very
it's
important.
exactly right. I mean, and if we do not have healthcare providers, this society will just fall apart.
It'll crumble.
I mean, honestly, with the gray tsunami coming up, what if we don't have an infrastructure? And people I have people saying to me, I don't know if anybody is of the age that knows a movie called Logan's Run, but it was basically where everybody died. It was from I think the 70s, and it was where everybody basically took a pill at 30. Because
30,
that
you're
was
done.
basically the end of your life.
Oh, wow.
And so when people wanted to live past 30 would run because they didn't want to be killed.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so it was a sci-fi, but it was with some big names at the time.
Was it Farrah Fawcett?
Farrah Fawcett.
I think it was. Anyway, but it was. I think they did a remake of it years later.
Yeah. It's iconic, but I have people from baby boomers that are writing after they've seen our documentary say Logan's Run, because nobody wants to get old this is what's going to happen.
Yep.
Like we're all spending all this time staying healthy and, trying to live longer lives. But if you can't live a quality life, it's like we had Jane Fonda do an endorsement for us. We were so lucky. And she said, she's 87 and she goes, I'm for sure an older person, but I can tell you, basically she said, just getting older doesn't mean that you can't continue to live.
Yeah.
And she goes, I view it as like discovery and just all these lovely things. And she goes, but I can't do that if we don't have a system that supports.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
And
so, you live a life and then you get to a certain point and like now your dignity is stripped away and you're basically a commodity.
Yeah, and the second order impact, I think that with the rapidly aging population, if the system is not set up well, it's going to fall on 60 plus million of, family caregivers, right? So it's going to fall
It's
on
going to fall in the
sons and
streets
daughters.
too.
Yeah.
And many of those 60 million, and I get this question so much from people on social media, why didn't you take care of your mom at home?
Yeah.
And as someone that does home care, not everybody it can be safely cared for at home. That's why these facilities were, came into existence because some people need skilled nursing. That doesn't mean they're at death's door. It just means they need skilled nursing, as do many people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s.
It's not only old people. It's all ages can require long-term care. Tomorrow, God forbid, knock all the woods, you can be into a car accident and then you need long-term care the rest of your life and you're 23 years old. So it's not only old people.
It's not only old people. So, and it is actually safer for them to be in a facility where they're supposed to be trained providers to help you have a quality life of where you're at. So that's why, it's so important. But if we don't have those facilities and we don't have frontline providers who want to go into that industry anymore, we're going to have what's called granny dumping, and they're going to be just left on a street.
And on that positive note,
sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. I love you guys. Don't hate me. I'm just trying to tell you the truth.
I think it's important to do this so that people can be, it's never hopeless, but you do need to speak the reality so that people out there start stepping up and thinking about it.
You're
only going to solve the problem if people realize there's a problem,
I'm just trying to say what Ashton Applewhite, who's like in our documentary, and she is the godmother of anti-ageism. And she says, when you have a bias towards older people, that's just a future. You have a bias against your future self. And isn't that stupid? So anyway, love so much what you're doing, Neal.
Thank you.
I think you are one of my favorite guests. So I really think you're just doing such great stuff. You're a smarty pants, and you also have a big heart. And you're wearing one on your shirt too. There you go. You wear it every day, right on your sleeve. I love it. And
on your chest and everything.
On your chest, I love it. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all of the work that you're doing. I'm just so proud of you and proud to know you. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Susie and Dawn. I really appreciate it, and congratulations on your documentary. We're gonna start making a lot of people watch it. I think they'll really enjoy it. You're right about the younger audience. Sometimes you get them to watch something that moves them. That's how we get civic action. The youngest people are the 100%. Most vocal, the most active. Whether they take action now or 3 years from now, this is going to be the future of our country. I'm going to ask you to please watch it and then see if you don't want your students to watch it, because I've had a lot of doctors say that should be in every med school. 100%.
So I would love you to
the students. We can kind of create.
Let's do it.
Create a
movement.
Do
it.
Create. Because I think that sometimes bringing awareness, that's how it happens. You get a few students.
I want to. That's why I've been dying to talk to you, my friend.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. We had
100%.
We had Texas A&M reached out to us and says we want to run this on our local. Yeah,
Nice.
so all of our, and
Yeah.
so yes, absolutely.
Yes, this is what we got to
Super
do.
A.
We love it. We are all about love. What do we always say, Dawn?
We say that love is powerful, love is contagious, and love conquers all. So we thank everybody for watching, listening. We'll have all of Neal's information in the notes, and if you like what you saw and heard today, please like, share, comment, do all those fun things, and definitely like, share, and comment No Country for Old People, now available on Amazon Prime,
And-
Tubi,
yeah.
and Hoopla.
and go to CareYaya and support Neal and his team and all the
And read his
amazing young
book.
future doctors and the book. I love it. It looks like a true crime cover, and that's how we open our documentary like true crime, because it basically is true crime in real time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're like-minded. I
All right.
dig it. And everybody, will see you and talk to you next time. Love you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Sing a song.